I'm from the school's newspaper. I'm trying to ask some questions to him for a report in the schools. First of all, I'd like your name and occupation, please.
My name is Merijn Tinga. Here, let me write it down for you. As the plastic soup surfer, I try to make an effort to raise awareness on the harm that plastic brings to our seas and oceans. And I try to make this personal by combining it with a physical challenge. This time, I'll be stand-up paddling down the entire River Rijn on a board made from plastic litter. And I start at the source. We're at the Overal Pass. We're near the highest point of this expedition. Tomorrow we'll climb up to the source, and that will be the highest point. At this moment we're at 2,046 meters above sea level. So we'll have to descend 2,000 meters to get back to the North Sea. This water, this snow, when it melts, it will go down that valley, and all those small creeks together, they'll form the Rijn. Probably when we walk up to the source, there'll be a lot of snow, and the Noordzee, the small lake where it starts, the source, is probably frozen over as well. So we'll have ice there. Well, we'll see at least. During this expedition, I hope to learn what the sources of plastic waste are. I will collect examples, just plastic stuff I bump into, and then afterwards use those very pieces to hold accountable those that are actually responsible for that litter. Because plastic soup starts in our own backyards, our own streets and waterways, and by going down this iconic river, I want to show the pathway of that plastic as it inevitably flows down to sea, just like I will. We've reached the highest point, the Rijnkwelle, and yeah, just look at that. This is connected to the North Sea through the Rijn, and we're going all the way down along these mountains, and then yeah, the river gets wider. It's going to be great. Yeah, looking forward to it. I wanted to go to the source and show how clear and clean that water starts. And that we do not have to accept that it gets polluted by plastic as it flows down to the North Sea. An important part of my story is that the board I'm standing on is made from plastic litter. But of course that board needs to be sturdy and strong enough to hold out for a month. So I was very fortunate when Science Center TU Delft offered to help me build my dream board together with them. I'm no expert in SUP board design, so I teamed up with Starboard. They sent me this board to replicate. What we're going to do is make a 3D scan. So we're going to have a 3D model in the computer, which we can use to make all the ribs afterwards. So not only are we using all this plastic litter in the board, every aspect in that board is thought about. So this, for instance, is a fin, which is Okelon, which is fully recycled nylon. We have fully recycled ABS, even recycled resin. Every aspect in its construction is within this recycle mind frame. Now that the building of the board is taken care of, I can shift my focus to something equally important in this preparation, which is learning to stand up paddle. I feel like this is something I might be able to do easily, or that's the way I planned this, and today we're going to see if that's actually true. And well, I've got one of the best Dutch paddleboarders with me, so if she can't teach me, nobody can. Ja, ik pak het boord.
Laten we even daarbij het stijgen. Well, when you're paddling 28 days in a row, I think physically and mentally that's quite a challenge. You have to be able to have a good mindset and think, well, I'm gonna finish, and then you're halfway, and then physically you need to do the rest.
I got a little scared when Janneke started talking about the challenges I might meet along the way, so I'll have to do a lot of supping before I do this. So next coming weeks, that's what I'll do.
So if you are separated from your board and you have to swim to shore, a good place to swim to is the gravel banks here. If there is cliffs or big rocks, it's hard to climb out, and what you really want to avoid is swimming into trees.
That's what an experience. It was so much harder than I thought it would be. When you're a surfer, you sort of use your speed and your balance together to turn the board, but here the river is the speed, so you don't have your speed yourself. It's sort of like a rodeo. I was so bold yesterday to think that I could do this. But it was a thrill. It was a thrill. I fell off multiple times. First time you're in the river. Yeah, you see the rocks coming at you. You try to climb up back on the board as fast as possible. Just the idea that I thought I could do this. Yeah. This is the confluence of the Rijn and the Rijn. And from here on, it's called, I think it's called the Rijn. And from here on, we can't go any further. So there's a dam behind this. So we have to pack up and drive a little, and then we can get on again. Ja, nee, ik begrijp het. Je werkt keihard, dat weet ik. Bel die mensen, vraag wat ze kunnen doen. I'm getting a little concerned about the board. That board is very important for me because it's the way I tell my story. It's a board made from plastic litter. And as the plastic soup surfer, I surf on boards made from plastic soup. And it feels like if I do not have that board, I could be just any guy paddling down that river. Yo, okay, hoi. Well, I think I already sort of accepted the possibility that the board, the plastic soup surfer sub board, will not be ready when we're at the 0 kilometer sign of the Rijn at Constance. Yeah, there's nothing I can do from here. This is Constance. This is where they start counting the Rijn. So this is the 0 kilometer Rijn sign, just behind the Alte Rijnbrücke. And from there on it's 1,035 kilometers to the North Sea. And today I have a headwind, the predicted rain. So the first real day of paddling is going to be a tough one. I'm taking my tent and camping gear. That's the big bag, that's actually the heaviest. And then my cooking gear, which is another bag. That's this one. And then there's my clothes and the food I'll be eating. And the wheels, I'll need those to walk around the locks. And there's a big waterfall, the Rijnvallen. which I'll need to walk around, a spare paddle, a sort of camelback water, and that's it. I'd hoped to get on the actual plastic soup sub. They'll bring it in a day or two, but for now I'll be using this inflatable starboard sub to do the first part. I've just done my first hour. What can I say? Well, what have I gotten myself into? That's what I'm thinking. Oh, just keep on going. Keep on going. First stop after 2 hours of paddling. Yeah, I've done about 10 kilometers. So I think I need to do another hour, and then hopefully the flow of the river will help me. Just take a quarter of an hour rest and then go on. These are the rapids I need to cross. I think I'll just take off the fin, and I just had a look at the route, and it's more hassle to take everything off the board and walk around, and I feel yeah, I just need to cross this. If I take off the fin, I can sort of slide through. Feels like it's possible, and I have a little experience now, but I don't know. I just don't feel like pulling the board off, actually. I just want to go. We'll see what happens. I'm a bit tired. This is the 4th day of full paddling. That's always typically the day that you feel sort of worn down and see the road ahead. And especially all the hassle with taking the board up and all that side stuff. You don't feel like you don't have the energy anymore to do stuff like that. So just make sure everything's tight to minimize the risk. Yesterday, Roberto from the Science Center TU Delft called me in the evening. First, it seemed like they would have it ready on time for the press conference today. At 1:30 at night, he SMS'd that he was too tired, that he'd been working too much, and that he wasn't fit to drive. Yeah, and that's the story. But I felt pretty bad. You know, you disappoint so many people. You have all these partners waiting for it, and yeah, have to disappoint them. That was the feeling I had this morning. And then I had a moment when I thought, what would the plastic soup surfer do? I was reflecting, walking over the railway. I was thinking, what would the plastic soup surfer do? And I said to myself, the plastic soup surfer, he'd press on, he'd go on. So that's what I'm doing. This is the board I'll be using, hopefully for only 1 or 2 more days. But I'm not making any promises anymore. I'll just go on with this mission. I've been looking for plastic from the beginning on of this expedition. So everywhere I am, I look for that plastic. But it's after the Rijn fall, the big Rijn falls, that I actually find larger quantities of plastic litter. Most of the stuff you cannot see what it is because it's just small torn off fragments of packaging. What I bump into, I take along with me on my board. I put it in a small pouch, small sack on my board. And that's what I'll be using later on to confront the companies with. And to make sure they listen, I will send a bailiff to the person in charge. Because I feel that they should take much more responsibility for the end of life of their packaging and products. So this is Nestlé, right? And I've got an Evian bottle as well, I found. So I would like to ask the CEO of Nestlé what he thinks about this. What he thinks about his plastic, his products floating down the Rhine into the sea. I wonder what he would say, if he feels any responsibility. Because your feet are wet all day, any wounds you get, they won't heal. So I'm barefoot nearly all day, so if I bump into anything, I get these small wounds, but they just don't heal. They sort of hurt when I press them, they're sort of swollen. But it seems like they're healing a little. They're getting used to being battered by the sun and water all day. The first quarter of an hour when you grab your paddle for the first time after having slept, that's when you sort of feel them, but after that they're fine. It's like, I mean, your whole body hurts, so this is minor compared to the whole thing. I try to paddle when I'm in the valley of the wave, go over, go through my knees, and then when I'm in the valley again, I stand up and I give it another push, and that's the way I sort of glide in that same rhythm of the waves. I cross them. But this is the experience I should have had when I was on the fast-flowing part of the river. If I had all that experience of standing on the board with waves, then probably that part would have gone a lot better.
En ik heb ze uitgemeten op de tassen die je hebt.
Wat cool.
En
die handgreep?
Ja.
Wat goed. I'm deflating this board because the real plastic soup board has finally arrived. And I'll be paddling it from this day onward. 25k or something. Feels like just as heavy as my other board with all the luggage on it. Let's give it a test run.
He's standing on it and he's having a good time. It's still a prototype, but there are lots of things that can go wrong. I think Merijn will handle it delicately, but it's great to see it going.
I feel whole again with this board under my feet. Now I'm really the plastic soup surfer, the surfer surfing on plastic soup. From here on, I expect this whole campaign to get an extra boost, just because of the board and the story it tells. The picture has become one. You know, you can see me paddle by and you'll understand what this project is about. Just the Rijn, the litter, and the story of paddling from source to sea. Aansteken is op. There goes it. I've been paddling for over a week now. I've been away from home for 2 weeks. The thing is, once you've paddled 1 week, you can paddle 2 weeks and 4. So I've sort of reached the point where I could go on doing this for months. There's nothing that's going to stop me from paddling. It's because the river ends that I probably will have to stop. But I'm really into this routine of waking up early, breaking up my tent, looking for coffee, looking for food, looking for plastic, having an interview, and then looking where I can pitch my tent again. And that routine sort of continues. And there's a development in that as well, as I'm not listening to music or something like that when I'm paddling, so I'm really reflecting if I'm not concentrating on just paddling. Sometimes there's just kilometers that I need to do, or the wind is against me, and it just takes all my strength and concentration to keep on paddling. But most of the time I just reflect on the plastics I see, on how I feel about that. Also, by seeing all that plastic everywhere I go, that's really strengthened my belief that we should do something about this now, and that we need every means possible to do that. Which is awareness, which is targeting CEOs, which is policy. And those are the things I think about just paddling down that river. The packaging, the bottles, that's the part of the plastic pollution I can see, but there's also a large part which I cannot see at all, because plastic breaks up into smaller pieces, microscopically small. I even went to a water waste treatment plant, and they told me they do not have the facilities to filter out those small particles of plastic. So I contacted an expert on the field and asked him about the scope of this problem.
These are microplastics I isolated from the Rhine River at Bimmen, Lobit, so where the Rhine River enters the Netherlands. I sampled the river water there, and well, microplastics, as you can see, they are abundant and easily found. I took many samples. Every week I took a sample for half a year long, and at any times I found microplastics.
Every time you took a sample?
Every time. Based on my research, I estimate that at least 40 tons of microplastics go through the river each year.
Just only microplastic, 40 tons?
Yes.
Where does this come from then?
Well, I isolated 4 different kinds of microplastics based on their appearance. You have films, tiny pieces of plastic bag, You have spherules, which are balls, tiny balls, and in the end I also found micro beads. I could easily isolate these tiny particles, and I could recognize them because I had this product. This product,
and
yes.
you just
I isolated a few of these, so I knew what to look for. You know, these particles are this small. It's just dust you're looking at. I know some studies on mussels, and they could easily isolate microplastics from the mussels. You have quite a good chance that you're eating plastic, and that gives me a bit of a unpleasant feeling, actually.
I was just thinking, man can make all these impressive machines, like this one here, and yet they can't prevent plastic litter. Why is that? That's not because they can't. That's because they don't want to. Because there's not an incentive. Because there's not an interest in nature. No financial interest in nature. Of course they can prevent plastic litter. They just don't want to. They don't want it enough. They don't want to change the designs. They don't want alternative materials. They don't want deposit return systems. Why is that? Because it's not in their interest. And that's why I'm sending a bailiff. Because maybe they don't want to because of their finance, but they should because of my kids, their kids, and our future. The headwind, it's pretty hard work. Yeah.
This is the boat, the famous boat. Oh my God.
That's the artist.
That's very nice. Well done. Congratulations for this campaign, for this initiative.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate, I think, to live in a country like Deutschland, which is very good at recycling, but still, even in Germany, plastic pollution is an issue. We know that increasingly the plastic is degrading in the oceans, and many toxic chemicals are attaching to that plastic and then getting into the food chain, the wildlife food chain, but also the human food chain. So it's a big issue. And as the science unfolds even more, we realize why we should be doing this even more than perhaps we even thought of a few years ago. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, one part, of course, is about the awareness, and the other part is actually targeting those CEOs.
Yes.
And I hope, well, I expect that to really, that will be the exciting part of this.
How are you actually going to do that? How will you actually get the plastic to the companies that you identified?
The thing is, we try to actually get to the CEO themselves, the CEOs themselves, through the bailiff, who will actually deliver it at person. So at boardroom level, at deciding level, that's where we get real impact.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Do you have a business card? I'll give you. I'll try to look for mine.
I do.
Somewhere.
Ich bin begeistert von der Idee, das zu machen. Er hat mir gerade erzählt, dass er zu den entsprechenden Unternehmen, die den Plastikmüll verbreiten,
die Dinge zurückbringen wird, die er hier gefunden hat, die er im Rhein gefunden hat. Und das wird sicherlich eine interessante Aktion. Ich finde das ganz, ganz toll. Es passt zu uns. Wir freuen uns sehr als Stadt, dass er zu uns gekommen ist. Und es passt sehr in unser Profil.
Next, I want to know how long in Rhine kilometers the trip actually is, or at least how many kilometers you leave behind each day, on average.
The whole Rhine is 1,200 kilometers, but the packaging part is 1,035. I start at the 4th and I'll take 24 days.
Okay.
And in the beginning I did more kilometers, like up to 80 a day. And at the end I'll do only 24 a day. So I think the average is 47 kilometers
47
each day.
per day?
Per day,
That's impressive.
Thank you that you are here in Dormagen. You see, we have a lot of people here to...
Great to see so many people here. So I'm paddling down the Rhine from source to sea, from die Quelle bis zum Mundung. And I'm doing this to raise awareness, Bewusstsein auf das Plastik im Meer. A lot of things I see here, it's just from barbecues and picnics actually. It's people picnicking and not using
This is the area where the picnics are and the barbecues.
Yeah, a lot of stuff like that, yeah. What would this be? What is this from?
Es ist rumgewickelt so einen Zweig.
Real Coca-Cola. This is Spa and thing.
Weil die Deutschen haben alle das Recyclingzeichen mit Pfand.
Ja, und diesen hat das nicht. Vielleicht war das denn niederländisch. And it's even a little higher, you say?
Ein Flaschendeckel.
The water level will rise this high in winter time, and this is where you find all the small stuff within this grown grass and within the thicket. It's everywhere. But it's very hard to pick up and clean, of course. It's all broken down, small pieces. Well, this cannot be cleaned, so the solution is prevention, definitely. No littering, and make sure that everybody takes their responsibility. Civil society, consumers and producers. They should work together on this. Sauerrote. Schnapps. And look how small it is. I'm getting a good impression of what we find here. This is actually the barbecue zone. They have enough energy to take it down to the riverbank, but they don't have enough energy left afterwards to take it back with them. What I'm really looking for is those plastic bottles and the small stuff, which is in the spoelzalm. Stuff you cannot clean up because it's just too small and it's in between the plants. I've been passing this for more than 700 kilometers. One confetti of these small pieces, waiting for the next high water rise to be pushed on another 100 kilometers towards the Noordzee. I think I was disappointed. It has always been very theoretical, taking attorneys to CEOs to do something about plastic litter. And that hasn't changed, but by actually seeing where people sat and left their stuff, it has become very personal. And now I have to convince myself that the theory I have is right. Maybe through this experience I've seen how fundamental, how this is really a behavioral thing, and we need every aspect of the chain to solve this. So that means producers as well, but of course consumers and civil society, if we want to do something about this. It will take a whole lot of time, a whole lot of energy. Sometimes I just feel tired. I think the excitement of the first week, the excitement of seeing whether I could actually accomplish the whole expedition, that's gone. And I still need to do 1 quarter, but now it just feels like hard work. And yeah, sometimes I just feel tired, and then they say, we need people like you. But I think, well, we need everybody. 2 days from the Netherlands. Een soort saai kanaal. Dull Dutch canal I have to take over 20 kilometers. There's a headwind expected, quite a lot of wind, and then there's also nowhere to shelter, and then there's also a thunderstorm coming. And I need to be in Arnhem tomorrow. I'm so not looking forward to this. Even though I'm paddling into the Netherlands today, the first part is going to be very, very tough. It's going to take a whole lot of power and strength. That paddling part.
So last phase, Merijn?
Yeah, last phase. Welcome here in Arnhem. Great welcome. But it's not the end yet. This is only 3 quarters. I still need to do another week. Yeah, a lot of wind yesterday, and that really makes it tough. Well, it's impossible to paddle, actually. When the wind really picked up, I only did 2 kilometers all day, and I waited all afternoon and the evening for the wind to ease, but it didn't. So finally I had to just pitch my tent where I was on the beach. It felt pretty lonely and miserable and cold. Well, for the next couple of days, well, the predictions are that there will be a lot of wind. That makes for a lot of hard work. And since the program is so tight, I'll really need to push and pump to get on time. These last days, I meet my biggest challenge, the mental challenge, because I got the wind and the bad weather pushing me back. But what I did not expect and what I was surprised about to see is how many people turned up to support me. And they give me that push I need. Lekker voor de voetjes. The first stop in the Netherlands, the first city in the Netherlands on the Rhine is Spijk. And at Spijk you find the PET recycling plant. And the great thing about this company, it can fully 100% recycle PET into new PET bottles, for instance.
Nou, prima.
Ja.
Niet prima.
Dit is
een tray.
Een tray.
Dit is een Heinz. Nou, die zijn wel goed zo. Er zit heel weinig ketchup in.
Ja.
Maar we hebben ook groen. Zo weer minder.
Ja, groen is minder waard. Ja.
Paars. Is niet best.
Ja.
Gaat er rechtstreeks uit. Alle folies gaan eruit.
Ja.
Aluminium.
Ja.
Heel veel non-food. Wat we niet kunnen gebruiken. Dus zoals hier zit non-food in.
Ja, flacons van
zeep, van Flap.
Ja. Dus dat kan je niet gebruiken?
Nee. Eigenlijk niet. Groene.
Zo'n Mountain Dew, bellen jullie dan op?
Heineken?
Wat doe je daarmee? Dit is van Heineken?
Ja,
Mountain Dew is van Heineken? Ja. Ja. Dus wat jullie betreft zou Heineken gebeld moeten worden om te zeggen, jongens, die Mountain Dew,
dus marketing,
daar kan je helemaal niks mee.
Ja.
Dat past in geen enkel sorteerstroom.
Ja, het past wel, maar niet in een heldere.
Niet in een heldere.
Je kunt er prima plastic bakjes van maken. Maar wel gekleurde plastic bakjes.
Ja, maar ja, dat is lineair. Dat is gewoon,
lineair.
Ja,
maar het is wel recycling.
Ja. Even het wikkeltje mee. Om te onthouden. Yeah, we've seen several examples of products or of bottles, for instance, of the wrong color, which could not be recycled, or if they have a certain sleeve all over the bottle, they cannot be recycled, because this company is interested in PET, and they have a very advanced technology to separate it from other types of plastic. You know about my project?
Yes.
I'm paddling down the entire Rhine from source to sea, showing how much litter flows down the Rhine, looking for that plastic, and on the other hand I'm going upstream back to the sources of that litter. I've seen you walking around and taking all different types of products or bottles from these bales and saying like this is not a good product for this type of recycling, for instance.
That's true. I think if you talk to brand owners like Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola and that kind of Nestle, I sometimes have the feeling that it is marketing driven, and I understand that it's marketing driven, but it would help if we share our knowledge about which bottles can be recycled more easily and which are more difficult. And more difficult means most of the time that it will be a linear recycling process, which is a pity.
So what would you say to these companies?
I would say please visit us, or please get your heads around about what is really recyclable, yes or no. Is that multi-layer, monomaterial, yes or no? Does it have to have food content? Is there metal in there? Is there different materials in there? And if you change little to your product, you can make a much more recyclable product. Improve your know-how about what can be done to make it more circular.
What you see is the complexity of the whole chain, of the business, of the waste. And you see how all these companies should work together if we want to close that loop. Actually, they're already doing what I want to do. They're already going upstream. They're already going to these companies and telling them your product should be such and such if you want it recycled. If we want to recycle your product, you should think of these things. Think of the end of life of your product. As I paddle into Rotterdam, I'm very small on my tiny paddleboard in between all these big freighters and big ships and buildings. Rotterdam is one of the biggest sea harbors in the world. And I even get a nautical salute. I'm approaching the end of my expedition. This is the last press event we have before I paddle out to sea tomorrow. Reaching the North Sea is the symbolic part of my journey, since I want to paddle from source to sea. Rijnvuurstquelle. Dat is toch wel mooi. Rijnvuurstquelle. The packaging, I find the packaging right here, just before it, well, with the next high water, will flow into the North Sea, just as I will in a few kilometers. This doesn't belong here. This shouldn't flow out to sea. And this is something producers can do something about. This expedition has shown me the urgency of this plastic pollution problem. We are warned. We should not accept this. Plastic pollution is a result of our convenient society, and we need a behavioral change. And if there's any hope, it's in the fact that we handle plastics every day, that it's very tangible and we have the choice every moment what we do with it. And it will take consumers, legislators, producers, and producers here are vital, since they are the ones that are at the source. They should think of the end of life of their products. It's up to individuals to take the first step to a world where plastic waste does not exist at all, but it is seen as a resource.